This is fantastic because now we have full control of relativistic mechanics concerning massive particles, which opens a spectrum of possibilities. Based on that, we are going to do relativistic hydrodynamics, as we are going to discover in the next lectures. But before, we need to complete our, our excursus on point particles, among which we have also massless particles, for example, photons. See, so far we covered particles that are living within the light cones, because these are massive particles and they are associated to time-like events. What about the particles that move along the light cone? Each trajectory are null vectors pointing along the light cone. For example, light meaning photons. We need to work them out. So now we are going to discuss massless particles. All right, let's do that. Where do they live? Well, they live on the light cone. So we start by defining our light cone. The S square is equal to eta mu nu, the x mu, the x nu, and that's have to be equal to 0. And this is a killer for all of this discussion, which is not anymore valid. We cannot apply it anymore. Why? Because our Lagrangian, you see, was based on what? U mu, which was defined as the x mu over the tau. But what is equal to the tau? 0. Remember? See, the tau is equal to the s, and the s is equal to 0, meaning the tau is identically 0. We cannot apply this definition. We cannot use it. So this action is not usable. We need something else. So what we do? Well, we realize the fact that, yes, it's true, photons are living on the light cone. So here we have our light cone, right? So here we have x, for example. Here we have ct direction, and they're moving along a light cone. But this is a path. This is a word line along our space-time. X of lambda. This is a legitimate word line. And if this is a legitimate word line, we have a point in our manifold, and I can define a vector that is pointing along this null, along the light cone. Meaning, I need to define a null vector for the tangent velocity, for velocity of our particles. So how do we do it? If this is our beloved word line, I can define something which is analogous to a 4 velocity. Therefore, instead of calling u, not to confuse it with that one, we call it k. K of mu, and we define it as the derivative of the position, of the 4 position, with respect not the tau, because we cannot, as we've seen, but with some affine parameter, right? I have a trajectory. Let's make this light cone a little bit bigger. That. I have a trajectory, and I can say that at a certain specific moment, I am at a certain position, given by lambda. I change lambda, the lambda that I'm choosing, it tells me where I am. Remember that x nu is a function that goes from real numbers, this is lambda, so we have seen that when we studied the manifold, and it's going to give us a position on the manifold. Okay, we're using the gamma for the word line trajectories, right? So it's a function that follows a lambda and tells me where we are on the light cone, exactly like that. And there is the chart, and with the chart, we can get the coordinates. My coordinates are going to be some position on our manifold given a certain lambda, nothing like that, right? And x mu is just telling us what is the velocity along this trajectory, which is specified to be a null vector. All right? So if it is a null vector, it means that once I compute this quantity, meaning eta mu nu k mu k nu, right, which is equal to k mu k mu. That's what we have. This has to be equal to 0. That's the constraint that we are applying to our 4 vector. We are moving along the line. We now want to express this object in terms of its components. I can write it as some modulus. That's the modulus of our 4-dimensional vector. And then we have the unit vectors telling us in which direction of space-time we are moving. Then we are going to see why many times, so this is going to be basically, I write it also as k0, and then k, where k is k0, and then the unit vector indicating the direction in the space-time. We can also write it as omega over c over k remains k, where we have defined omega as omega over c. This is a frequency. Okay, we are going to see why that's the case, why we are doing that. I already spoke about photons, so we understand that it's going to be associated to the frequency of the photons that we are considering, right? But in general, we can write it, the k vector, like this. Please just keep it as a definition. For this reason, this object is called 4 frequency. All right, this for the moment is just a name, but keep in mind the real concept, which is this one. Then what we can do? Well, we can define our action, and we can just proceed with the same procedure. There is a little bit of if I want to do the usual dirty trick that I used in this yellow step here, I can show you that I can just as well do the square equal to eta mu nu, the x mu, the x nu, and then we let this object emerge, this 4 frequency, we let it emerge just by doing that. Okay, so that's going to be equal to eta mu nu, and now we have k mu, k nu, the lambda. Right? It's just to show you that this k vector sort of emerges from the definition of the 4 interval. All right? Good. Now what I can do? Well, this particle must possess an energy, and they must possess a momentum. Therefore, we can say that even this particle, for this particle, we can define a 4 momentum in terms of an energy and in terms of a 3-dimensional momentum, in full analogy of what we did for the massive particles. All right? Let's try to see what this object should be for this sort of particles. So how do we do it? Well, we start with the fact that we have invariance, and this object, we know, must be invariant, right? Therefore, this is again equal to mu, 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 and we just use this definition. So we are going to have minus e squared over c squared plus p squared. That's what we already found out by using the momentum. If we want our particles to obey the same law, we can contract this object that must be a null vector because it must point along the light course. Therefore, if it is a null vector, we have an equal 0. What do we have here? A relationship between the energy and the mass and the momentum. C modulus of P. Moreover, look at this expression. How does it look like? Do you remember the expression for the relativistic massive particles? we have E squared equal to m0 square c to the power of 4 plus c squared p to the power of 2. This was for the massive particles. Now look at this expression. It's E squared equal to, is there a mass? No, there is not a mass. Equal to c squared p squared. So in this case, we are going to have c squared p squared. There is no mass. It means that the mass of this particle is 0. So by looking at this expression, particles that are moving along the light cone and have a form momentum defined exactly in the same way as we did for the massive particles cannot possess a mass. We have a full agreement with that. And even these particles, you see, it gives you a smooth transition. If we send m to 0, we exactly have this expression. Okay? So from the general, so we can interpret this expression as the general expression for all particles. We just have to set m equal to 0, and we have the expression for massless particles. All right? Good. The last thing that I can tell you is about